Here we go!
You're listening to the video game show on URN.
Hello everybody, it is Saturday, it's 2 o'clock, and it is the video game show on URN. I am your host for the week, Mark, our regular host Henry. He's not very well at the moment, so you know, thinking good thoughts about him, but he's not here. I'm sitting here with the mic checker, the mic wrecker. It's Jack. How you doing, Jack?
Yeah, not too bad today, thanks. I'm looking forward to the show. We've got plenty of to talk about, and of course we only do have an hour, so we've got to really get our show on the road.
Got to hustle on this one, and I'm sitting here with, and this is going to be a pretty tight segue, I think you'd appreciate it. It's the biggest I've ever seen. It's the biggest anyone's ever seen. It's Dylan. How you doing, man?
I'm good, how are you?
Can you explain that segue to everybody, and we can jump straight into our first news story?
I can indeed. When, what is it? It's the Covenant ship comes in the first Halo. Cortana says to Master Chief, "It's the biggest I've ever seen. It's the biggest anybody's ever seen." And a pretty tight segue because it is the 15th anniversary, or was a few days ago.
Yeah, I believe on Tuesday, it was the 15th anniversary of the Microsoft Xbox and Halo Combat Evolved. So I think we'll have a couple of minutes. Let's all talk about what Halo means to us. I know you love Halo. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Halo. Jack, I've played a lot of Halo with you as well.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan. I mean, we did sort of mess it up when we sat down and played the remastered version. We didn't realise that you actually had to engage the remastered bit of it, and then we started playing through, what was it, Halo 1 and 2 in just really, really bad graphics.
Yeah,
and
I think...
we finished Halo 1, and then we jumped back up, and we're like, wait a minute, surely there's got to be a way, because that didn't look remastered, and we sat down, we found the option, and then we remastered it. Played it and it looked absolutely stunning, so that's something that we'll definitely have to go through and maybe do again. Because
I think an Xbox got moved and put into a new TV, and it didn't quite register the new TV was in HD, so we played through all of Halo Anniversary Edition in HD in 480p, I believe, as opposed to 1080.
Something like that, yeah.
And yeah, there were several points where we were switching between the remaster and the original, going, his remaster doesn't look very good, you know. This looks pretty bad, actually.
We very nearly did the same thing, didn't we? We went to do a marathon, and and you told me that story before we started. We were like halfway into the first mission, like, this doesn't. Oh wait, yeah, we've done the exact same.
And switched the projector from 720p to 1080p, and go, But yeah, so let's talk about Halo. Like, Halo came out 15 years ago,
which is ridiculous. That's we're so old now.
Yeah, like when you talk about Halo, I remember playing Halo when I was a little kid. You know, when I was like, what was it, 7 years old? Or
must have been, I guess.
8, 9 years old.
And so
6, 7 years old, yeah.
It's an absolutely amazing game, and it's still going strong as well.
Yeah, like it's still a fun game to play. Like, you can sit down right now and you can turn on Halo Combat Evolved or the Anniversary Edition or the Master Chief Collection, and you can play that first game, and it still holds up. It's a strange video game. It does a lot of things that you wouldn't usually do in a first-person shooter these days. But
I think that's why it sort of really pushed everything, because that was what brought it to consoles, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Halo, and I guess that's why it was quite innovative in its...
Yeah, like it was that first really effective first-person shooter for consoles. Like, you know, it had GoldenEye
thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and stuff, but GoldenEye and Perfect Dark don't hold up as video games. I'm just putting it out there now. Controversial, I know, but it's true.
Oh, well, I agree with you. I never played GoldenEye as a kid, so when people go back to it for the nostalgia, obviously they're loving it because it reminds you of that. But I always don't enjoy it that much because it's a funnish game, but it's kind of like I don't have the same memories with it as everybody else does. But I know
you give me an original Xbox and one of those big Dukes and a little like a 15-inch CRT. Yeah, we'll play Halo 1 all day. Some 4-player multiplayer, like that was That was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, me and my brother, that's just what we did a lot. We played a lot of Halo together, and it was just lovely. It's because the split screen on it is really good at bringing people together.
Yeah, like having a full-length first-person shooter with a proper story and a campaign and lots of things to do, and then make the entire thing cooperative from the get-go. That's really smart. Like I've played it through on the Todd once, but then I've played it through cooperative probably like 4 or 5 times at this point, because like you can sit down, it's not long, you can do it in one play session really if you try.
4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, and you just play through it, and it's fun and varied, and you know, like the library is pretty rubbish, but that's sort of gone down in history.
Do you want to explain just exactly for our listeners who don't know Halo, what Halo is and what the library is? Do you want to
of course. Yeah, so that was we jumped in. So Halo was a release game for the Microsoft Xbox that came out in 2001. It is a first-person shooter set in, what is it, like
2552.
2552, that's pretty future right there.
Yep.
And you play as Master Chief Petty Officer John 117.
Yeah.
Have I nailed that?
You've nailed it, yeah.
Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, known as the Master Chief to his friends, and you are part of humanity's last-ditch effort to defeat a superior alien force known as the Covenant, and you end up discovering a giant alien structure called the Halo, and you go onto the Halo and you fight aliens, and it's rad, isn't it? Like, it's everything in it is super powerful, and like the jump's really high, and the basic pistol is like
the best weapon in the game.
Yeah, it's like an incredible long-range sniper rifle, and like the assault rifle's got 60 rounds in it, and like comes with 600 in the pocket and stuff. And it's
after playing Halo 5 for a while, and even all the subsequent Halos really, where it's down to 36 in the assault rifle. When we went back and played Halo 1, and you just walk through the corridors just spraying. You don't have to
shooting
aim
forever. Like it's a really, really unique first-person shooter that does a lot of things that hadn't really been. I mean, first-person shooters been around on PCs for a while before that, but they fit into a mold of being kind of fast-paced, actiony, or real stripped back. And then Halo sort of went, well, actually no, we're going to have a console game. We're going to have dual analog controls, which works, and we're going to make it almost arcadey. I would say it has an almost arcadey feel to it.
Because the levels are very, there is a running story, and it's a pretty good one, but the levels are quite separate. You can just sort of do a level and not be too bothered by it.
Yeah, I mean, and we will describe what the library is, because that is one of the worst levels in it. And the library is you move into an alien facility because you have to collect a key, and Halo is known for having giant, beautiful open areas with like really intricate combat design. So you go in, there's a certain number of Covenant, and you can immediately go, these are these enemies and these are these enemies. I've got to pick these guys out. I've got this cover here, I can do this, and there's a beautiful skybox, and it's really, really, like, it's very well designed. And then you go into the library, which is a giant alien facility, and it's constant repetitive grey corridors full of the same zombies that just run at you.
It's the Flood, isn't it?
Yeah, the Flood. And it's, I mean, I have a desk back home in Ipswich with a foot-shaped hole in it from where I was sitting with my feet up on the desk, and it's so frustrated at Halo, I kicked a hole through the desk.
Yeah.
So
it is one of those levels that will make you do something like that in any game. If there is a level that is going to make you rage, it is going to be that one.
It's specifically Rocket Flood, isn't it? That's what makes you rage in that level.
Yeah, because like it will just have round a corner which you don't know to take because every corner looks the same and some of them don't go the right way. There'll just be a dude with a rocket launcher who can just kill you in one shot.
Yeah.
But
other than that,
other than the library, Halo's pretty great, isn't it? Like, and it was also the 15th anniversary of the Xbox, because Halo was a launch title for the Xbox, and I think maybe the Xbox doesn't hold up as well as Halo.
No.
Controversial opinion? Perhaps
no, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not the best of those consoles, is it? It's very chunky and a bit ugly, and then it's not gone particularly great places.
Like, had a weird controller as well.
But it's an iconic controller, isn't it? The Duke. I mean, everybody who's ever used an Xbox knows that controller.
The Duke. I mean, the Duke is, I think it's technically a weapon in a lot of countries.
Yeah, definitely.
For those listeners who don't know, the Duke was the launch controller for the original Xbox, and it was about the size of a shoebox.
Yeah.
With buttons on it. It was a monstrous great thing, and like I think it was designed for like someone with Slender Man style fingers. Like,
designed to stop you playing an Xbox for more than 20 minutes because you get a cramp. As a kid, I couldn't use it because my hands were too small to effectively use that. I had one, those Mad Catz controllers back when third-party controllers were the thing.
Yeah, when everyone had one because it was cheap and you needed to play two-player with your mates.
Yeah, I had one of those Mad Catz Turbo ones that were tiny and perfect for my little child hands.
Because it only had one set of shoulder buttons as well, didn't it? It didn't have the R1, R2 or the bumper trigger setup.
But it had the white and black button.
Yeah, which are
kind of similar.
Because that was flashlight and change grade in Halo, wasn't it?
It was. They when you go to the Anniversary Edition and Master Chief Collection, that's essentially what they are.
Yeah.
It's basically the same button, but in a worst position.
Yeah.
It's like underneath the AXYB buttons. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
bizarre placement for buttons. I don't know, like a lot of strange ideas went into the Xbox. Like I think looking back at it, you can already see a lot of the things that people thought were insane about the Xbox One, because it had a real strong media focus. Like right there on the main menu was music. It had a hard drive. It was the first console I knew of that had custom soundtracks. Because I used to go around to my mate's house and play Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and you had all the regular radio stations, and then you go to custom radio, and it just randomised music off the hard drive with like interstitial ads and stuff. And that's a smart thing. Like,
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing.
Something they took out of the Xbox One for quite a while. You couldn't play your own music for a long time, and people got quite annoyed about that. Because like that was a thing I did a lot on the Xbox 360 as well. You could just plug in your music and play it over anything. I remember playing. I don't know why it sticks with me so much, but playing. You know that level in Halo 3 where you got to climb the 4 on a structure in the snow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I played that with my brother, and we played it to Predator by Foo Fighters.
Brilliant.
And it's just Pretender, even not Predator. What am I on about? Sorry. Pretender.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, because I was thinking that's not a thing. Pretender by Foo Fighters, and I don't know why, but it sticks with me. And it's just like that was such a nice thing about the Xbox, and then they took it out.
So we actually had another. Moving on, because we do have an hour today. We've got a lot to get through.
Yeah, that was a lot for.
Moving on to another anniversary we had, which I think we'll talk about a bit less, but I think it's worth talking about. We had the 10th anniversary of the infamous Xbox 360 game, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic 06, as it is colloquially known. The game that it was one of the worst games ever made, I believe it's known as, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, then again, I'm not really a big fan of the whole Sonic series.
Yeah, I mean, like Sonic. I'll give you some Sonic 1 or 2. I'll probably play those.
I played a lot of Sonic Heroes. Like Sonic Heroes was a good game.
Yeah, like that, I played that on the PlayStation 2, and that was not a bad video game.
Yeah,
but
I've never played Sonic 06.
I believe in Sonic 06, Sonic the blue giant hedgehog actually has a romance with a human lady, which is bizarre.
No,
yeah,
it's like B-movie territory.
Yeah, it's like it's a buggy mess. I fully recommend anybody who's into Let's Plays, the Game Grumps, in their older configuration with JonTron, did a playthrough for Sonic 06. Don't think it ever even got finished because the game was so broken that they just gave up. But there are some funny moments in that showcases just how maddeningly broken that game is, and I think it was emblematic in a lot of ways of just how knackered the Sonic series is at the moment. Like, Sonic hasn't really been good in like 20 years, really.
I can't really. I had a Shadow the Hedgehog. I think the last Sonic thing I've played was Shadow the Hedgehog on Xbox.
I mean, that was a bad video game.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
It was Sonic with guns, which was strange. But yeah, it's just there's occasionally those weird skate snowboarding games or something they do, or like hoverboard. I don't really know what
they
it
do.
is, that's
Sonic
the only
All-Star
Sonic I
Races.
know of.
Yeah.
Their attempt at Mario Kart, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, those games look terrible. I mean, I like the first Sonic, and that's probably about it, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sonic 06, 10 years ago. It makes you think how old the Xbox 360 is, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, which is weird. That's still kind of not that old to me.
Yeah,
Xbox
like in
One's
my head,
brand new to me.
my head, the 360 is still the new hotness in video games.
Yeah.
And it's 11 years old.
Yeah, because like Xbox One, it's a few years old now.
Yeah,
And
2013, wasn't it?
That's weird to me.
So, this week, as a special treat, we actually have a lot of quite short songs that we're not actually going to I think we should just jump straight into this, and we should just do a short one now, and we should just get one done, because I want to hear some of these tracks, Jack.
Yeah, so what this is last week we played a lot of songs from Hotline Miami, and this week we are following on with picking out songs from a specific game, and this game is, of course, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is Assassin's Creed 4. And yeah, when you're on your boat or when you're on your pirate ship, your crew essentially sing lots and lots of different sea shanties, as they call them.
Yeah, they do.
Just pirating songs, and we've got a couple lined up for you today.
Yeah, we've got a grip of sea shanties. I think we're just going to throw one out every few minutes.
Yeah, so our first one is possibly one of our favourites. This is Fish in the Sea. Welcome back here on the Video Game Show. Yeah, that was Fish in the Sea. We've got a couple more lined up for you later on in the show, but please do be sure that if you want to get in contact with us, you can text us on 07903 545 252. You can tweet us at URN1350, or you can send us a free web text on our website, www.urn1350.net. Now, coming up next, we're going to be talking a bit about the PS4 Pro, and now, last week we talked about how the PS4 Pro was coming out and it needs to be able to run games better before they add more texture into the game. So, Mark, do you want to just elaborate more about some news that's come out about the PS4 Pro?
We've spoken about this the last few weeks in a row, actually. And so the PS4 Pro's come out, and when it was announced about 6 months ago, Sony made it very, very clear that if a developer was to have a Pro mode in their game, which I believe starting in a few weeks' time, every game has to.
Oh, really?
The Pro mode has to... The game cannot run worse. So the idea is, like, if you want to put in more lighting effects and you want to improve textures and other stuff, go for it, but it has to at least keep the same frame rate, if not better.
Yeah.
And so everyone was hyped for that, because, you know, like, a lot of games on the PlayStation 4 don't run as well as they should, and so with the idea of a PlayStation 4 coming out that can run games better, awesome. So it came out last Friday? Yeah, last Friday, I believe. And some reports talking about Digital Foundry. And they've been playing some games on it in the Pro mode, and it looks like games...
Already doing it, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like games aren't running better.
Which is, in fact, you mentioned some are running worse, aren't they?
Yeah. So, and there's a few pretty, like, so... Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which is quite a recent release, has a Pro mode, and in the Pro mode, they say on average, I believe it's something like 10 frames a second worse frame rate.
Which is awful.
Which, considering that game already runs at 30 frames a second, that's shocking. And, you know, there's obviously, like, there's going to be a bit of, like, a settling process here, because developers... Because this is technology that's been known for 6 months. So, like, they've had to, in 6 months, go, ooh, how do we make our games work? And so that's sort of understandable. But so we've got Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Yeah. Skyrim Special Edition, which is a strange one, because that game is 5 years old.
Yeah. Surely the remastered edition is as much as they can do at this
point.
Like
you'd think at this point, the remaster and then the remaster Pro, like, they should know what's going on already. That shouldn't be running worse. And I think, I think it's only, like, it stutters more than the PS4 version, and it has some hitches and the frame rate's a little bit worse. But, like, it's not, like, end of the world badness, but it's running worse. And another pretty shocking offender is The Last of Us Remastered.
Which is also pretty...
Yeah, which, like, that game came out in 2013, ago, the remaster was 2014. The Pro mode of that, they should be able to make that game run better.
Yeah, definitely.
Considering the PlayStation 4 version of it, not Pro, runs at 1080p 60 frames a second.
Yeah.
So if the 1080p version of it on the PS4 Pro is actually running at less than 60 frames a second, I don't... That's the problem here, isn't it? Because developers are doing exactly what Sony said they shouldn't, and they're going... Well, we've got more power, let's throw in God rays and specular aberration and other things, and it's not good.
Yeah, I don't even understand it, because, like, yeah, you can make your game look prettier, but it's not going to look prettier if you can only see every other bit. If you're running along and then suddenly you're dead because you didn't see the guy appear. Because it's like, it's not, nobody's going to enjoy it just because you can see some extra effects if you can't play it.
Like, I will always take frame rate over, like, graphics every day of the week.
I feel bad for bringing it back to this, but it's like how sort of 343, obviously because they work so closely with Microsoft, the graphics aren't, like, they use fairly basic textures and stuff, but because it runs so smoothly...
This is Halo 5, yeah?
Yeah, Halo 5, sorry, yeah. Because it runs so smoothly, you forgive all of it, because it's just so nice, but...
Because a video game that plays at 60 frames a second is... really something to behold.
Yeah.
Like, when something runs at a smooth 60 and, like, it feels responsive and tight and sharp, it's awesome. And you forgive it for a lot of its graphical sins, because 60 frames a second it should be what everyone's aiming for, really. So we're going to move on to another news story here. And Dylan, we were talking about this before the show. So do you want to tell us a little bit about a problem in Watch Dogs 2?
Yeah. So, I believe you mentioned, at least, there's a section in the game where you go to a nudist colony.
Yes, I believe nudists are involved. It might be
some form of nudity.
I think maybe you go to their own, like, knockoff version of Burning Man festival, possibly.
Okay,
but there are nudists in that game.
Mm-hmm. So they've obviously had to create these models of the naked people, but they thought, why not just put some clothes on them for the rest of the people? Which you might not think is that bad because you got clothes on, but in the game, if you knock down a woman wearing a skirt and then go into the selfie mode of the game,
because the game has a mode where you can take selfies. Of course it does, because it's internet.
Watch Dogs,
Well, I mean, it's the next big thing in these. Like Grand Theft Auto 5 had it. So if you go into selfie mode in this, you can look right up her skirt and see this woman in all her glory. Yeah, exactly. And so some guy took this screenshot and then posted it to, was it Twitter and NeoGAF and stuff?
Yeah.
And has caused a bit of outrage. I think he got banned from PSN for, what was it, a month?
I think it's a month, yeah.
Which...
And I think Ubisoft to come out saying, like, we need to fix Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah, that's something they need to change, because that's an odd thing to have in a game.
Yeah, like, nudity is fine when it's justified, but...
when it's just knocking people down to look at their bits. It's
yeah, like, what do you think of that, Jack?
I mean, you would have thought that, you know, obviously they might have put it in there just for a bit of fun. They might have just completely forgotten about it, but again, yeah, it's a weird story. You would think that Ubisoft would be, you know, working on that, and they would have, you know, maybe had a look at it before when they were testing it out, when they released the beta. They might have seen that maybe you could do this, but
I guess maybe the testers don't try and take the upskirts.
Obviously not.
But
I mean, it's power to them, I suppose.
Yeah, that's really good of them, but at the same time, it seems an odd thing to not notice.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Someone should have gone, hold up a minute, guys, let's make sure we don't have fully rendered genitalia on everybody. So there's actually another interesting bit of news that came out of Watch Dogs 2, which I think's really, really cool, and one of the most exciting ways I've seen to announce a video game in a while. So, Jack, do you reckon you could tell us a little bit about the secret announcement inside Watch Dogs 2?
I haven't actually seen it. I know you linked the video to me, but I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and look at it, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to actually...
Okay, well, I'll have a little rundown of it, and we'll see. Okay, so in Watch Dogs 2, there's a mission. So Watch Dogs 2 is set in San Francisco. Yeah. And apparently it's a very good representation of San Francisco, including San Francisco in real life is where the Ubisoft offices are.
Yeah.
And those offices are in the place they would be in Watch Dogs 2 and are the Ubisoft offices, except for they might be the weird in-universe version of them that's also in, like, Assassin's Creed and stuff. It might even be like Abstergo or something strange like that. But there's a mission where you have to go to this game developer and you have to steal a trailer for a video game that hasn't come out yet, and you have to leak it onto the internet. And so the trailer you steal is, it's got, like, it literally says, like, Ubisoft E3 presentation, like, version 3.0 over it, and has, like, all the watermarks and stuff. And it's of this really, really exciting looking, like, space salvage game, and it's got like a sort of Firefly style, like, slide guitar in the background with, like, country music, and it's like spaceships in front of really interesting looking planets, and it comes up with some salvage stuff, and it shows, like, a guy going to, like, steal stuff from a blown up spaceship, and then everyone was like, that's awesome, it's like an actual video game.
Cool, yeah.
And so they got in touch with Jason Schreier from Kotaku got in touch with some sources who he says are trusted sources for the goings on inside Ubisoft, and they've come out saying it's a video game that is in development called Pioneer, which fits with the idea of a space salvage game. Yeah. But the sad part is, when they made that trailer to put into Watch Dogs 2, the game was looking like it was going to be announced next year at E3, and it was looking really positive. And then recently, it's sort of gone onto the rocks a bit, and it's looking like it might actually be in some development issues. So, yeah, like that's a real strange situation, because Ubisoft have gone, well, we're going to put this out there, but sort of when they put it in the game, the future for Pioneer was looking a lot brighter than it is right now.
Yeah, which is a shame, because I watched that trailer and
it looks amazing. It looks really interesting, and I was saying this to you earlier. It looks a lot like
they were really gonna get that whole sort of the bitterness from No Man's Sky, because it's one of these space exploration games. You're clearly actually doing stuff in it, because it seems to be a salvage type thing. So I'd imagine there's something going on. But if they manage to get a game that's doing that pretty well, even if it's coming out in a few years, there's obviously people want that, because there was so much hype for No Man's Sky, and clearly people want that.
There was a lot of hype for No Man's Sky.
Yeah, that might be the problem.
Well, yeah. So that's a real shame. Hopefully, the huge buzz around it at the moment, because everyone's going, oh, it's got Cowboy Bebop, it's like Firefly, it's all these awesome space shows that have a sort of country western vibe to them, and hopefully the fact that people are hyped about it should get it back on the rails. We've got one last real fast bit of news, and then we're going to go to another song from Assassin's Creed, I believe.
Yep.
The bit of news is Persona 5, sequel to the beloved JRPG Persona 4, made by Atlas Studios. It was to be released January, I believe, and it's been delayed to April 4th.
Which is a shame, because...
Yeah, it's a real shame.
We were definitely looking forward to that game, weren't we?
Yeah, because I love Persona 4. Persona 4 has it's a beautiful video game. Yeah.
The story is just
it's
like we watched the anime together, didn't we? I've played a bit of the game.
Yeah.
But we watched the story together, I guess, and it's great. It's brilliant, and I was really looking forward to Persona 5. That's a real shame that it's been moved back.
Do we know why it's been moved back?
No, they haven't said anything, but I would assume, it's a good question, Jack. I'd assume, as with a lot of things that are, because I believe it's out in Japan.
Yeah, okay.
I believe it's a translation issue. It's localization. Because the thing about Persona 4 that's so great is, like, when Final Fantasy gets translated and localized, they make the sentences make sense, they put it into English, you can follow the plot, but it tends to be... It retains a lot of the verbose nature of, like, the Japanese language. Like, the Japanese language is very flowery.
Yeah.
You know, it uses a lot of adjectives in strange ways, and so Final Fantasy loves that stuff and really rolls with it. But Persona, because it tends to be about high school students getting into wacky hijinks, like, way over their head, and then having to sort of go and summon their inner power, and, like, it's all very Japanese. But because it's about high school students, they do a really good job of localizing it and making it feel like the thing about them that feels Japanese is not the language, it's the fact that they say, like, Hiteki-san, and it's just like they use honorifics, but otherwise, like, it's so well written. So I would hope that the issue is not something wrong with the game, and it's just that they're really polishing up that translation, that localization. Which,
to be fair, it's really lovely that they're doing that as well, because obviously they could just release it quickly and have it just kind of not make sense, but the fact that they're wanting to release a fully polished game, they're wanting it not to be wrong, and they're happy to leave it a bit, and I'm sure fans would actually appreciate that, especially fans of this sort of game. You tend to get the more committed to it sort of fans. They want it to be good. They don't want it now. They want it done.
And, like, the characters in Persona 4 are still, like, Chie and Yosuke and Yukiko and all these characters, like, they are still with me to this day. They're awesome. And, like, Teddy, what a guy.
Yeah.
Like, Teddy's the best. So, like, the fact that they want to put that much effort into making this new one have that much care and attention is great.
Just more characters to fall in love with.
But do you know what else is great?
What?
Running down to Cuba.
That is great.
Jack, hit me with a shanty. And we are back, and that was Running Down to Cuba, one of my personal favourites. I think it's great. We've got one last little bit of news, a little bit of housekeeping before we move on to reviews. Dylan, what's going
on? So this weekend, we've mentioned it before on the show, Overwatch is having a free play weekend, and I thought it's worth mentioning just in case anybody wants to play it. And that's you can download the game on Xbox One, PS4 and PC.
So on PC as well?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Download that for this weekend, play completely free. I think you get to play most of it. The free play weekend I did, it wasn't the entire game, but it was basically the entire game. Like, I didn't really notice any difference.
Cool.
So
Overwatch is a cool game. People should play that game.
Yeah, brilliant game. Definitely go for it.
Yeah, people should totally play Overwatch. It's really, really good. Now, we got into the reviews section of our show. And this is a game that we spoke a little bit about last week, but now Jack has had a chance to play it because, as predicted, it has come to Xbox Live Games with Gold. Jack, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experiences with Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon?
Yeah, so I started playing it, I think it was 2 days ago now. I saw it was on the store, and I know you mentioned it last week, and you had a lot of good things to say about it. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a try. I think it's only about 2 GB memory, and it took about 20 minutes to download onto my Xbox One, so I downloaded it, and I mean, my first impressions of that game, I've only played about an hour of it so far, but it looks stunning.
It looks good, doesn't it?
It's a very sort of 1980s sort of retro arcade look on Far Cry.
Yeah, so it's a standalone expansion for Far Cry 3, which was a 2012 Ubisoft open world action RPG murder outpost extravaganza. How many more adjectives can we throw in there? Yeah, and it's... Yeah, Jack, tell me a bit about the characters, the plot. Give me a rundown of what goes on in Blood Dragon, because it's pretty wild, I think.
So yeah, so you play as I believe what is his name? His name is Rex, is it?
Is it Sergeant Rex Power Colt Mark IV Cyber Commando?
So yeah, something ridiculous like that. So I think during, like, I don't want to, obviously I don't want to spoil it too much, but in, like, the first sort of bit, or the opening cutscene lasts about 10 minutes long, I think it is, or something. It's like a really cool little long cutscene at the start of the game, and it's very sort of actiony,
arcade cutscene-esque sort of style, and you go around with your another American cyber soldier called Spider.
Yes,
and
Spider.
You and Spider are like these two best buds, and then in the opening cutscene, it turns out that your mate Spider has been killed. Which, again, throughout that entire cutscene, you're building. You just start to build an emotional relationship with him, and then you're just there like, oh yeah, man, we're gonna go around. It's gonna be us two, killing dudes.
We're gonna go and kill the bad guy, and it's gonna be wicked. And then it all goes wrong, doesn't it?
And then he gets killed, and then you get thrown into the opening bit of it, which is you're in a helicopter, and you're on a Gatling gun, and you're just blowing up dudes who are camped out on rooftops with their RPGs trying to kill you. And yeah, I mean, then you get thrown into it, and you get thrown down onto the surface, into the map, and there are these things called blood dragons, hence the name, and they are dragons which I'm not quite sure how to describe them.
They're like Komodo dragons.
They're like giant Komodo dragons that can shoot lasers out of their face. I'm gonna say it's pretty metal,
to be expected from this kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
that's what you want in games nowadays.
But Jack, you got my back here. It looks incredible, doesn't it? Like the style of it, the way it captures that 80s neon, like VHS artifacting kind of aesthetic is awesome. And like when you get hurt, there's a lot of chromatic aberration on the screen, so it looks like a VHS tape that's like skipping and stuff. Like it's super cool.
It's very I know this was inspired by this game, but you know that short film Kung Fury, I think it was called. Very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Kung Fury missed the mark with me. I didn't find it that great, but Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, I think Kung Fury with like David Hasselhoff and stuff in it, I think Kung Fury was a bit too knowing, and it was a bit too like, oh, we're going to be really edgy and we're going to do this 80s thing that's really funny, whereas I think Jack can back me up here. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon doesn't do it in like a we're being different way. It does it in a we love 80s action movies and we want to do that, and then it just does it, and there's no like nudge nudge wink wink. It's just, you saw Commando, you saw Terminator, you saw RoboCop, you like neon lights, do it.
That's exactly what it is. And then these blood dragons are, they literally don't care who they kill, they just kill. They can kill. They come after you if you get too close. I think
they mess you up as well, don't they?
Their veins on their body, on their outside of their body, like it goes from It goes from like blue to or green to yellow to red.
Yeah, so like when it's green, they're not a danger, and then yellow means they've detected you.
They sort of know that you're there, but they're not. You haven't done anything to harm them yet. And then when it goes red, then they really start to get annoyed, and they can go after you, and
they start shooting lasers.
The first mission, is you have to try and gain back control of a base, and essentially you grab these things called cyber hearts, which are all the enemy soldiers. When you kill them, and you can pillage them, and you get some of their, you pull out their hearts.
You harvest a lot of hearts in this video game, and I have 99 in my pocket at the moment, I believe.
It's something called a cyber heart, and you can use these to lure the blood dragons into enemy bases and towards enemies, and you can throw a cyber heart into this base, and then the dragon follows it, and he sees some bad guys there, and he goes from green instantly to red, and then he starts shooting lasers from his eyes. And it's an absolutely amazing game. It's free at the moment on the Xbox for Games with Gold at the moment on Xbox, and
might still be free on PC as well if you download a Uplay, get yourself a Uplay account, and it's part of the UB30 promotion, which is their 30 years of Ubisoft. And play that game. It's fun. It's super silly. It's wears its influences on its sleeve, and if you've ever seen Terminator and gone, that's a pretty cool movie, then you probably quite like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It's better than Kung Fury.
Yeah, that's not that hard though.
Yeah, not really.
I got it downloading at the moment.
So I think we're going to have one more shanty, and then we're going to come back, and after the break we're going to play some games. I think we've got some console wars to play, we've got some Hall of Game to do. It's all going to be very fun, we've got some hype to do, but for now, Jack, let's sing with the sailors again, come on.
Yeah, so coming up now, we have got another shanty, as Mark just said, and this one is, I'm sure that everyone has heard this one before, it is Drunken Sailor.
So yeah, that was Drunken Sailor, a song that I imagine everybody's familiar with, but that was the Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag rendition of it, which all your boys on the Jackdaw will sing for you as you're sailing around the Caribbean. We all like Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag here, right? I think it's an awesome game.
I absolutely love it. I think it was a couple of summers ago when it came out on the
Xbox Gold,
on Xbox Games with Gold again. You know, I think it was going for about £25, but they knocked it down for us to play for free, and I downloaded it instantly. I think I spent way too much time playing the story rather than actually just going around on my boat and just wrecking other pirates. And obviously, you're playing as pirates yourself, and you can go up against like some of the English giant frigates and whatever that they have out in the sea, and it's really fun.
Yeah, I think I 100% of that game. Like, I think I like to the point where I collected every single treasure chest and everything. Like, there's something about that game and the world it creates. Like, it's a pseudo-realistic recreation of the Caribbean. So, you know, Jamaica is where it should be, and like Cuba is where it should be and stuff. So you can go to these places, and they've got cities there, but there's all these islands, and there are boats to encounter and treasure to find and whales to hunt, and there are like super serious boats in like the top corners of the map that you can go and fight, who are like really the legendary boats. And there's a ghost ship as well, I think.
Really?
Potentially. I feel like that's a thing in that. Or maybe
Probably,
right?
Right?
I think one of the legendary boats is a ghost ship. I don't know, it's an awesome game, and we discussed it in our very first show because we inducted Edward Kenway, the protagonist of it, into the whole game. And
deservingly.
It's a wicked game. But you know what else is a cool game?
Console Wars.
Console Wars. So this week on Console Wars,
Oh man.
Jack and Dylan. I haven't been nice to them here.
Oh no.
Oh wow. Okay.
I've been pretty brutal here. So Jack, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell me why the Battlefield series is the best series of first-person shooters.
I knew it.
And then I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell me why the Call of Duty series is the best series of first-person shooters. I'm going to give you... You've got 10 seconds to prepare.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say go. You got 5 seconds. Get some ideas what down in your head. Jack, go.
Well, of course, the Battlefield series in themselves are way better than Call of Duty because, you know, they've got bullet drop in there. You don't see bullet drop in Call of Duty. Bullet drop makes it a lot more realistic. You've got you can blow up houses. You know, you can get in a tank, you can blow up the side of a house. You don't have that kind of destruction in Call of Duty. And yeah, you know, the one that they just released, Call of Duty, Battlefield 1, sorry, is absolutely amazing. It's a throwback to World War 1. You get to ride around on horses, you get to jump over tanks on horses, which again is insane. You get to go into a train and you
switch.
Oh yeah, so basically Call of Duty is obviously one of the best games, far more better than the Battlefield series. Call of Duty, you know, they're going futuristic with it, but I mean, who doesn't love jump packs? Who doesn't love being able to fly around? Yes, laser guns, again, you know, you never see a laser gun in a Battlefield game. Laser guns are so cool, flashing lights and everything is absolutely amazing. And yeah, the Call of Duty, the way that they've done it, Modern Warfare Remastered, I played through the All Gleed Up mission this morning, and it's absolutely amazing. And yeah, just the whole Call of Duty series and the way they're going with it.
Jack, nice.
That was impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, you reeled off some facts right there, my friend. That was really something.
That was probably the most like tense I've been for a minute in my entire life.
Stressful, isn't it?
Yeah, well, well, Dylan.
Oh no.
You are going to have 30 seconds to tell me why Titanfall
Oh no.
is your favourite first-person shooter series, and then I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell me why Halo is your favourite first-person shooter
How could
series.
you do this to me?
We're going hard on this one. It's pretty brutal. I had to explain why Nintendo was better than iOS games, so I'm not pulling any punches here, guys. Dylan, you got 10 seconds to prepare. Start thinking about answers. Start thinking about why you think one's better than the other, and then perhaps even vice versa. Because in 5 seconds, I'm going to make you start. Dylan, go.
Alright, so Titanfall,
In the midst of quite a lot of very similar first-person shooters at the moment, has really done something different. You've got a lot of mobility in it, which you're starting to see in Call of Duty, but nowhere near to the level of Titanfall. You've got grappling hooks, you're jumping, running on walls just constantly, pretty much. And then even the campaign itself in the new one, it's doing a lot of things that, while the story's not that great, it's got so many different things in it, so many unique events that you just never really see before, and utilise it in such a beautiful way that it's really an incredible game to play.
Switch.
Halo is
Innovative. It was like the original FPS on consoles. It wasn't, but that's what it is for me.
And the story in it, while you have the game story and you sort of get into it, it's got so much more to it beyond that. It's got all these books that come with it. And I know that's not a game, but that adds to it. That's, I think, what makes Halo so amazing for me, is all the lore that comes behind it. And not just, you know, also playing it with your friends and having a brilliant time every time you play it.
And stop.
Well done, mate.
Very nice, guys.
Very
Henry
good.
would be proud of the pair of you. That was an excellent performance. We'll have to work out a pretty brutal one for Henry when he gets back in the office, because he hasn't done one yet.
We're going to have to run him through the ringer.
We'll have to run through the ringer. I think we're going to play another game in a bit, but quickly, Jack, let's give it another sea shanty, because these are fun, aren't they?
Yeah, these are brilliant.
And that was Johnny Boker from Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
They're all really brilliant and just really catchy songs, aren't
They
they?
just make you happy, don't they?
Yeah, that's completely nonsensical. But I mean, obviously, it's all about the rhythm, isn't it? With sea shanties, it's all about there's a song that gets you into a rhythm for rowing and pulling ropes and stuff, and it's got a good rhythm to it. But I think it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
don't you? Yeah, it's
so fun. Like you were saying, that waveform looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's got, like we're sitting here in front of this waveform, and yeah, it's perfect. It repeats so beautifully. So we've got another game we like to play around these parts called the Hall of Game.
Yeah.
And so the Hall of Game, each week what we like to do is induct some characters into the coveted Hall of Game. We've done our favourite heroes. We brought 4 people in. We did our favourite villains.
Yeah.
We brought 4 villains in. This week, we are going to do a bit of a strange one. I quite like it. Dylan, you came up with this one, so why don't you have the honour of introducing it?
We're going to do our favourite video game royalty. So when I thought of this, I didn't think just specifically royalty, but anything that's got the name, like Prince, King, Princess, Queen, etc. Obviously, there are also some that are royalty that don't have that name, I guess, which you can use.
Yeah.
But anything that has a sort of monarchical relation to it.
Yeah, we want some sort of the most tenuous link to regality we can find in all of these.
Yeah.
But so Dylan, as it is your category, who would you like to induct into the Hall of Game this week?
So what sort of inspired this for me, actually? I'm going to go with the Prince of Persia, who is the eponymous prince of these games.
Yeah.
So
the titular prince.
The titular prince, exactly. I played Prince of Persia Sands of Time as a kid. My dad had it on his PlayStation, and I never played the ones before, but those are quite old. So
yeah, they're pretty old.
And that game is brilliant. I played it all the way through a few times. Pretty
this
stressful.
Is Sands of Time, yeah?
Sands of Time, yeah. So that is, I think it's your dad goes and sort of ransacks a city, and you go in and you find this dagger, which allows you to mess with time in fun ways. And it allows for a really, it's a puzzle game, I guess. Well, yeah, it is. It's a puzzle game, and you're running around... Puzzle platformer, that's the one, yeah. And so you need to use this, your control of time in very kind of inventive ways to get through these puzzles. And the character in it is just... He doesn't have a name or anything, but you follow him and it's just...
He's the prince, isn't he?
He's the prince. He's the guy you follow, and he's awesome. All the stuff he does in those games, I mean, the later games are a bit... I had that one from 2008.
That one was weird.
Not that fun, but... I think he deserves to be in it because he's been a prince for a long time and he's brought us a lot of pretty good games.
I always liked how in Sands of Time he narrated the story.
Yeah.
And it would, like, if you died, it would cut to a splash screen and he would say, no, that's not how that happened.
Yeah.
And then it would start again from a checkpoint or words to that effect. He oozed character in the way that he narrated everything you did to you, and I don't know who the voice actor was, but he was cool, wasn't he?
Might be able to find it out, but I mean, we'll move on to your ones.
Jack, do you have a member of royalty prepared for us, or are you still narrowing it down? Because you've got a couple you want to choose from.
I've got a couple of good ones, but I am going to go with the first one that I did mention to you a couple of days ago, and that is, of course, King from the Tekken series. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, Tekken is probably one of the first really pioneered, games or fighting games that was released on console. It's an amazing game. I think there's over 20 characters in each game. They've released about 6 or 7 of them now, maybe even more.
I think they are on Tekken 7 at the moment.
So they've released quite a few of these games, and each year there's this Mexican fighter called King, and essentially he was brought up as an adopted orphan after he got into a lot of fights when he was younger. He was brought up as an orphan, and then he decided that he was going to change his ways, so he became a priest. And then that's the whole sort of backstory to him. And his life goal is to set up an orphanage for underprivileged kids like himself when he was younger. So yeah, so
what's his defining feature though, Jack?
So his defining feature, what it is he becomes like, he's essentially, he's from Mexico, he's a fighter, and one of his main defining feature is the fact that he has a tiger sort of mask thing on his head, and it's like it's a tiger skin, because it runs all the way down to his back as well, and he's got a tail as well of a tiger. And yeah, it's one of those bizarre things that only something like it's really only something you'd see in Tekken. And I just think he's an absolutely amazing character. He's been in there since the first Tekken, and yeah, it's probably one of the most bizarre characters I've seen. But when you fight as him, he is pretty cool. There is his enemy. His name is known as Armor King, who is his like arch rival, who is dressed up with the same sort of mask, but he's got a lot more armor, as you probably guessed by his name. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. He's
a really bizarre character, isn't he?
Like, I always thought he was actually like half tiger.
Yeah, I remember playing Tekken Tag Tournament 2 on a PlayStation 2 many years ago, when I was quite young, when it just came out, and be like, I want to be the dude with the leopard head, the guy with the leopard head, because that's who King is. Like, King is, I mean, he's a fighting game character, so he's not really the deepest dude, but he's got a leopard head.
Yeah,
which is pretty damn cool.
Which is hilarious. I love it.
It's insane.
So the last person we'd like to bring into the Hall of Game is a certain king I'd like to bring in as well. A king known as the King of Red Lions, who is a character from The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. So the King of Red Lions, he rescues you early on. You get into some hijinks trying to save your sister. You find yourself in somewhat of a untoward situation, and a boat turns up. A boat with a big lion face on it. A red boat with a big lion face on it. And then the boat starts to talk to you and reveals that he is the King of Red Lions. And then he takes you on your adventure around the world of Wind Waker, and he's your bro, and he looks after you, and he fulfills a Navi-like function within that game, much like an Ocarina of Time, where you had Navi the fairy, who would inform you about what you had to do next and what's going on. The King of Red Lions tells you what you have to do next. He tells you about enemies, he tells you about traps coming up, and he is also your transport. And he looks really cool because he's a boat, and then there are some revelations later on that I'm not going to get into because it's a spoiler for a pretty old game, about the true identity of the King of Red Lions. I'll tell you, it's a cracker. King of Red Lions is good stuff, but yeah, like,
definitely deserving.
Yeah, I mean, the King of Red Lions, he's a boat. Boats are cool.
If we can get a boat into the Hall of Game as a character as well, not even as our favourite boat from a game.
Just like, he's a great character. So we're going to jump to another sea shanty, and then we're going to come back for some hype, and then, alas, we're going to have to leave you. But Jack, hit me with a sea shanty.
Here is Roll Boys Roll.
And that was Roll Boys Roll from Assassin's Creed. So we've only got 5 minutes left with you guys today. We don't get an extra size show like we have for the last few weeks, so we're going to go real quickly through this. There's not much coming out this week, but something came out yesterday that I think is a pretty significant release. Jack, what came out yesterday?
So it was the latest edition in the Pokemon series. It was Pokemon Sun and Moon was released yesterday.
Yeah, dude. Pokemon Sun and Moon came out.
I'm so hyped for that game.
You've got a 2DS, haven't you? So
I've got a 2DS. I really want to get it, but again, I don't have enough money. Or I have enough money, but I don't have money to be spending on games like Pokemon, where I know that I would not get any work done if I sat down and started playing Pokemon at the moment. Because I'm really hyped for this. I know that there's quite a few people around the world who are hyped for this. Obviously, 380 million games have already been sold of the whole Pokemon series, outdoing the likes of Call of Duty and all these other
people like Pokemon.
Yeah. And I mean, I honestly can't wait to get my hands on it. It's going to be a lot better than Pokemon Go. You know, Pokemon Go, they brought out a new update, or they're going to be releasing a new update soon, but it's absolutely nothing like Pokemon Go. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting adding more Pokemon into it, adding a new region into it, so they're making more Pokemon. And I mean,
looks like there's going to be some nice quality of life improvements to the systems in it as well. Yeah. And Poplio's pretty cute. He's that seal dog. He's adorable. And is it Rowlet, who's the owl with the bow tie?
Yeah, and Litten is the
cat.
So I'm into the starters from this generation at least, and so it seems like it's a good Pokemon game.
Their evolutions are a bit weird. The final evolution of Litten is like a cat man, basically King from Tekken.
So we've got a couple of minutes left. I want to play a game that we haven't got a good name for yet, but basically there aren't any other games coming out next week, but there are a lot of PC games coming out next week.
Yeah.
And PC games, because there are a lot of them and they're pretty cheap, tend to have pretty silly names. So I'm just going to go through the Metacritic list for games coming out next week on the PC, and we're just going to talk about how ridiculous some of these games are, because I think it's brilliant. So we've got the Street Posse Showdown coming out on November 21st, 2016.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, Street Posse Showdown. We all down with that?
Gang Beasts ripoff.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cyber Chicken.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that sounds cool.
Okay, we back that.
Yeah, I like
Aqua Moto Racing Utopia. It's coming out on November the 22nd, 2016.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
They're just putting as many things as they can into that.
On the November 22nd, 2016 is also Japanese School Life. It's a simple name, but I think it really gets across the point, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know exactly what's going to be happening.
Also coming out, but I don't believe it's relation to it, is A Magical High School Girl. I don't know what that's about,
Yeah,
but
what do you...
On the same day, we have the hot PC release, Hot Squat.
Is that just
Yeah,
like
Hot Squat?
Is that
Hot
just
Squat.
you like
Any
you
information
playing
about
as a
what
character
actually
just
happens in-
squatting?
No, I mean it hasn't even got an image on Metacritic.
Is
so
it just
who knows?
your
Brilliant.
is it
Like-
just your player squatting for like as long as you can hold it or
Over some
something?
coals.
It's like Quap, but for squatting maybe. Who knows? Like we'll have to have a look at some of these. I think at some point. Coming out on November 23rd is Space Trucker.
That just sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great.
amazing.
I just want that game.
Yeah, like I'm down for Space Trucker all the way.
I feel like we've spoken about Space Truckers before, but not in relation to that game.
Because it's that
the
Deep
coolest
Purple song.
idea.
It's great.
Of course.
Yeah. Day after that, Super Red Hot Hero.
That's also a great name.
It looks to be about a chili who's a superhero.
Does make it better.
What about Ninja Smasher? I don't know.
Smash ninjas,
I was
or are
going to
you a
say,
ninja that
do you
smashes?
by any chance smash ninjas or?
Lord knows, that's the fun of this game. What about... So you know how Roller Coaster Tycoon's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what about Rock God Tycoon?
Man.
That's metal, man.
Is that like you being like a manager of a band or something?
I couldn't tell you. That's the fun of this game.
2K16.
And then, to finish off the show, I'm going to see if I can find a good one with a really silly name. I'm being let down by the Metacritic release here.
You've already done the best ones.
How do people feel about Clazer?
I don't even know what that is.
Laser?
A laser claymore? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty future.
That's the entire game. You just look at a laser claymore.
Yeah, but like a really beautifully rendered one in like 4K.
Like you know those bits in the Skyrim loading screens where you see weapons or objects. It's just that with a laser claymore.
Well, if you guys want to know what Clazer's all about, that's coming out November 25th, 2016.
We're gonna have to look that up.
That was pretty silly. I think that's going to have to come back because, man, Steam releases are a total nightmare. So, guys, that was a show. That was the video game show. That was fun. I enjoyed myself this week.
Yeah,
I
had a
think
good time.
we're going to be back same time next week, aren't
Really
we?
missed Henry, but
Yep.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
well, we always
hopefully
miss
Henry should be back next week. I'm not
no,
sure.
I don't think he's back next week. He's on holiday, is he not?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
he's leaving. He's broken our hearts, but nonetheless, guys, we're going to leave you with one last sea shanty. Get on the Facebook page, give us a like. Get onto Twitter, give us a follow, leave some comments. You know, we're becoming a social media empire. We want you to be part of it. Guys, it's been a wicked show. Happy Saturday. Happy gaming. Jack, hit me with Lowlands Away.